Hi, Dinah here. Today we're going to talk about narcissism. I was meeting with a young woman who was trying to figure out why she repeated certain behavior, especially when it came to choosing men. She told me her mom was a narcissist. In an effort to understand the dynamics that happen when you're raised by a narcissist, I started to research. YouTube is full of videos that explain these things, and I was hooked. 10 o'clock at night, just one more video. Many people refer to others they see as selfish or self-centered as narcissists. People can have narcissistic tendencies, but they aren't necessarily a narcissist. And there are degrees of narcissism. But to be diagnosed with a narcissistic personality disorder, there are common characteristics of narcissism that must be met. The DSM defines them as this: a person must have 5 or more of these to qualify. They must have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, have a sense of entitlement, and require constant, excessive admiration. This is called narcissistic supply. Expect to be recognized as superior, even without the achievements that warrant it. Exaggerate achievements and talents. Be preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. Believe they're superior and can only associate with equally special people. Monopolize conversations and belittle or look down on those people they perceive as inferior. Expect special favors and unquestioning compliance from those they are associated with. Take advantage of others to get what they want. Have an inability or an unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. Be envious of others and believe they envy them. Behave in an arrogant or haughty manner, coming across as conceited, boastful, and pretentious. Insist on having the best of everything: best car, best office, best house, best clothes. As I listened to my client's accounting of her mother, however, she didn't fit that description. She wasn't loud or brash or braggart. I learned, however, that they break narcissism into many categories. The 2 most prominent are grandiose narcissist and a covert or vulnerable narcissist. Her mother was a vulnerable narcissist. It all can be very confusing, but this is my takeaway when applying it to people helpers like us. You probably won't see a grandiose narcissist seeking help with their problems. They have all the answers, after all. However, you may be trying to help a woman who's in a relationship with one. It's important that you know the signs. You also may mentor a young woman who was raised by a narcissist. Knowing the dynamics and the effects can help you to guide her. The one thing that is most important to realize is that narcissists exist for their own fulfillment. They literally cannot feel compassion or empathy. They see the purpose of everyone in their circle is to meet their needs, feed their ego, and pour into them. Professor Sam Vaknin specializes in narcissism. He's also a diagnosed narcissist who is brilliant. His videos are sometimes brutal, but this is what he says about narcissists. And I guess he would know, huh? They are empty on the inside. They are only the reflection of those around them. Hence, they need constant admiration and adulation. He went on to explain that when he sees someone crying, he can say, that person is sad, as an observation, but the sense of sadness does not resonate with him emotionally. When we see someone is crying, we not only observe that they're sad, but we know what it feels like, so we can connect with them emotionally. Narcissists simply cannot do that. Grandiose narcissists are easy to spot. They're bigger than life in a room. They're always going on about their fantastic exploits and their superiority to others. They can be charming and convincing because they are master manipulators. I know many women who have had boyfriends or have husbands who were narcissists. There are also tons of videos discussing their experiences on YouTube, and it's horrible. There is love bombing and then criticism and gaslighting. This is a technique that makes you think that you're crazy for seeing something or hearing something, and then they question your impression of the event or conversation. You actually think you're going crazy. Now imagine a child being raised in that. But what about the vulnerable narcissist? In an article by Jody Clark entitled How to Recognize a Covert Narcissist, she states that it is not a coincidence that narcissists in general tend to gravitate toward interacting with caring and compassionate people. The covert narcissist recognizes those opportunities for manipulation as well. That's us, people helpers, that they tend to gravitate toward. And that's why it's so important that you learn to recognize the signs. Covert narcissists have the same goal as grandiose narcissists. They are empty inside, and everyone exists to prop them up and give them their narcissistic supply. They seek out people who are likely to do this. In the beginning, they may compliment and praise you, but it's not sincere. Like borderline personality disorder, they might become too close too quickly. They need to feel like you have a special relationship and they are closer and more intimate to you than others. You find yourself propping them up with compliments and assurances because we want them to feel valued and loved, but they're incapable of feeling these things. Jody Clark states in the same article, the covert narcissist may have a more gentle approach to explain why something is your fault, and they are not to blame. They might even pretend to be the victim of your behavior or engage in emotional abuse to put themselves in a position to receive reassurance and praise from you. At the end of these interactions, the goal of a narcissist is to make the other person feel small. So how did this apply to my client? First, a daughter raised with this kind of mother would feel responsible for her. After all, she has spent a lifetime being manipulated into making her mother feel important and loved. She very quickly shifts roles with her mother. As an adult, these feelings continue unless they're challenged. The hardest part is to accept for a child that a narcissist cannot have a sense of love for their child. The child leaves no imprint on the mother's heart. They think of their child in terms of how she can meet her mother's need. One example my client told me was when her mother was dating. She went through a lot of men. And she had a blind date. Her daughter was 9. Her mom told her that she didn't feel comfortable with a guy who had asked her out. She asked the daughter to come on the date with her. And then there was the guilting and the shaming. If her daughter didn't call, she was a bad daughter. After all, the mother had been the best she could have possibly have been and sacrificed so much for her daughter. And this is how you repay me? My advice to my client was to break all contact with her mom while she worked on herself and the lies. Her mom's response was, "What kind of counselor would tell you to hurt your mother like that?" My client was ready and is in limited contact with her mom with very strong boundaries and a lot of distance. There's also the task of finding out who she is as a person apart from her mom. But I think the hardest thing for her was to give up the hope that her mom would ever act out of love toward her. It wasn't in her. She will never get it. Without reconciling this, there's always unmet need, and the daughter looks to fill it with unhealthy relationships, only to be hurt and abandoned again. But there's also freedom when you come to the point where you can truly let go of this expectation. I can't do justice to this subject in this short video. However, if you suspect you're working with someone who's in a relationship with or being raised by a narcissist, there is plenty of information. YouTube is full of videos and there's lots of articles written on it. I would suggest that in an effort to understand your client, you do some research yourself. Thanks for watching.